It is Friday, January 17th, 2025. This is another edition of Football Today, presented to you by Captain Morgan, the official spice rum of the NFL. It is divisional playoff weekend. I am honored to be joined by my good friends, Bobby Skinner, Justin Penik, producer Connor as well. Best weekend of football of the year. My late father used to say this is the weekend he would live for because we get all of the wild card, hopeful, cute little teams out of the way, Bobby. Now we've got probably the best 8 left standing.
Well, I disagree with your father. Conference
Oh,
championship weekend is the best weekend in football. Just two
really?
games battling for the championship. You get, like you said, you get rid of. There's still might be a little bit of fluff in here.
Oh.
Conference championships, what it's all about. Getting a chance to go to the Super Bowl. No stupid not stupid. No halftime shows. No people that don't care about watching football. Watching football. Conference championships, where it's at.
Oh, for God's sakes, Bobby. Look at you. Penik, set him straight. This is the best weekend.
I like to think that usually wild card weekend is because of the amount of games that are being played, but that wasn't the case. No, playoff football is fun, and Rose, I think you let it off really right. Like these are, maybe besides the Houston third and long Texans, these are all very good football teams. They have but at least with the Texans, like they have very good football players on it. Jaden Daniels is going to be really fun to see, if he can stand up in that big playoff stage on the road. So, I mean, these football teams all are very talented, very good, and the quarterbacks are also very good too. It's not like that one straggler team that has like this quarterback that nobody believes
That's
in.
true.
It's like you can make an enticing case for any of these quarterbacks carrying their team a long way.
Okay, we're going to start at the very end, if you don't mind, because the fourth and
Oh,
final game of divisional weekend will be the one in Buffalo. It's the 2 seed, the Buffalo Bills, welcoming the 3 seed, the Baltimore Ravens, into upstate New York. This is a rematch of a Week 4 Sunday night game that was played in Baltimore. 35-10 Ravens. Derrick Henry ran all over the Bills for a $1.99. It was Buffalo's worst loss in 3 years. It was also the only game played this year by Josh Allen where he did not account for a touchdown, where he did more than just take a ceremonial first snap to keep his quarterback starting streak alive. And it was also the only game that Buffalo lost by more than 7 points. So, Bobby, I'm going to start with you. Baltimore's best against Buffalo's best this weekend. Who wins?
Baltimore's best. We talked about, that was a while ago, right? That 35-10 loss. Here's what's changed. The Ravens defense has actually gotten really good compared to then. When at that point it really was, and even though they obviously had a good showing on that night. The Ravens passing game, we look at the 199 and that first 87-yard run of that game, the second and third touchdowns were, all right, if you want to play soft shells, we'll check down. I'll throw the ball to Justice Hill. I'll throw the ball to Derrick Henry. I'll take what you give me. And then they scored 2 more touchdowns. If it wasn't for a fumble, they probably would have scored 4 in a row. The Ravens' best is, to me, it's clearly better than the Bills' best. The issue is we've seen the Ravens not play their best on this weekend and the following weekend before.
you want to know something crazy, Rose? I'm going to say the EPA stat that you don't like, but I'll rephrase it like this. Do you know the defense that's been the most efficient in the NFL since Week 12?
That would be the Baltimore Ravens.
That is correct, Chris Rose. Good radio. And here's the question I'm going to ask you, Rose, and then I want to get your thoughts. My only worry about the Baltimore Ravens is I think, if everything goes right for them, I think the Ravens can beat the Bills. But I also know that I'm afraid of the ghosts of playoff pass creeping up on Lamar Jackson. The Ravens are a team that have been penalized in the past this year, one of the more highly penalized teams in the NFL. I'm afraid that this may be a game where they may deal with some adversity, and then how do the Ravens as a team respond to that? That's the only thing that I'm afraid of, and I am rooting for Lamar in these playoffs.
So I understand that, but I think we have such a heavy slant toward Lamar and not being able to get it done in this round. But he's 1-3 in the divisional round or later. Josh Allen is 1-4.
Oh.
Now he has played exceptionally
We've watched those
well.
games, though.
I know he has played exceptionally well, and part of the reason that Lamar's teams are 1-3 in that is because Lamar has not played well. I don't think you can put a lot of this on Josh Allen, but it's more than just the quarterbacks here. It's the rest of the team, and the Ravens are number 1 team in the league in rushing. They are number 1 against the rush. MJD told me on Sunday night on our show. He said, nobody wants to tackle Derrick Henry at this time of year. They don't like doing it in September either, by the way. But when it gets cold, it is really hard to tackle a guy that big. I said, "What? But doesn't it hurt him too?" He goes, "No, no, I'm telling you, for defenders, it's way worse than the guy who's getting hit. I'm just telling you how it is." I said, "Okay, I'm going to believe you." And Derrick Henry leads the NFL in rushing yards per game in the months of December and January. And I just think that as long as Todd Monken doesn't lose sight of that and continues to pound the rock the entire game, I think Buffalo might be playing on skates up there in frozen Buffalo.
Yeah, and again, I think this Ravens defense is a lot better compared to where it was at that time too. Like I don't think this Bills offense is the offense that it was that, had that game with the Chiefs, 3 years ago, where they can just go, score for score. Um, I agree, man. I like the Ravens' best to me is clearly better than the Bills' best, and like I think of like some of those Lamar playoff games, right? Lost 17-3 to the Buffalo Bills, right? Through a pick six. Josh Allen on the other side of that only scored 10 points, So like he didn't light it up either. So I feel confident the Ravens are going to put this thing together, and I agree. If they didn't have Derrick Henry on this team, they could still have a really good rushing attack, but didn't have Derrick Henry. Say they had Tony Pollard. I'm probably not picking the Ravens, but I agree.
Right.
They know how they failed in the past, and they're gonna stick with it, and they're gonna grind this game out and win it.
All right, let me ask you this, Penik. Since we do focus so much on the quarterbacks, and it makes sense here, these are the top two guys. Lamar was first team All Pro, Josh Allen was second team All Pro. Who's there more pressure on in terms of legacy to make sure they walk out of this building with a dub on Sunday night?
Legacy. There's a ton of pressure on both of these guys.
Lamar.
I would say Lamar. Yeah, because especially since he's going to be the three-time MVP. I certainly hope so. He's going to be the three-time MVP winner, not just the two, and Josh Allen's searching for that first one. So I would say Lamar for sure. But I mean, it's tight. I mean, there's a ton of pressure on both of these guys. And whichever quarterback is going to lose this game, even if he has like a great game, I inevitably feel like the storyline is going to be that quarterback didn't do enough. And I kind of feel like that's unfair.
I think it's Lamar by a good bit. He's been a worse playoff performer. Like you said, he's about to be the three-time MVP. And if they lose this game, we may look at him the same way we looked at Peyton early on in his career, where it's like, hey, wins the MVP, he's awesome, best top three quarterback in the NFL, but he has not done it consistently in the playoffs. Now, Lamar's had good playoff games, right? Last week, the Texans last year. But in those games where we've seen them against Super Bowl contenders, we've seen him fall short.
I'll take it one step further. Lamar, by all indications, is about to be the seventh different player to have won at least 3 league MVPs. Each of the previous 6 had won a championship before winning that third MVP. Now, this could happen where Lamar could win it on that Thursday night at NFL Honors and then have a chance to erase all the haters on that Sunday. I agree with you. The discussion, if on Sunday night Buffalo ends up walking out of there with a win, we're going to focus on Lamar, even if he has a great game, and just the inability to get it done. Penik, you said something interesting. You said you felt like it was unfair. Why do you think it's unfair? We only care about Super Bowls when it comes to quarterbacks and coaches. We don't care about the rest of the people out there.
Yeah.
So why is this unfair?
Because these guys are so fucking good, man. And I'm gonna hate coming on here on Monday and being like, man, they got this guy's got to do more. This guy's got to be better because they're both so good. They're both so good, and you know what I mean.
Here's the issue is because if Lamar stinks in this playoff game, we're going to come on and talk about him as a bad playoff performer, right? And we should. I'm not going to feel bad about that at all. And until Lamar starts doing that, that's going to be in my head. The issue is people have a hard time with it with Lamar because the Lamar detractors are the worst, where they're still like, guy's not a quarterback, he's a running back. Like after I remember after week 1, we were getting flooded with he's like, so you still have some of that, but in reality, like he needs to show up in the playoffs. It matters. People will, yeah, he could still be a great quarterback, but like you said, Rose, we're judging him against Patrick Mahomes and he's Peyton Manning and stuff. You got to win Super Bowls to be on that level. Will he be in the Hall of Fame? Sure. Will he? But do you want to be on the level of those types of guys? You got to get a Super Bowl, and you got to play well in the playoffs for us to view you as one of those guys.
Let me ask you this. We haven't done much talking about the coaches, and in particular, Sean McDermott, because I think we asked the question going in this year, isn't it kind of a make or break year for him, even though we don't expect Buffalo to necessarily move on from him if he loses? But to be in contention as many years as they have been, to have an elite quarterback, to have very good players sprinkled all over the field, and to not get back to that AFC championship game, which hasn't happened for them since 2020. And if they lose this weekend, they will have lost 3 straight years in the divisional round to 3 different teams: Burrow in Cincinnati, Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City, and now Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. At some point, do we say, hey, maybe it's not the right guy on the sidelines?
The AFC is so tough.
No,
if this were the NFC and they're going up against those teams, yes. But since this is the AFC, it's so different, man.
I think McDermott has earned a lot of good grace after this year with the roster that they have. Yeah, it's not the worst roster, but they let a lot of guys walk, and they did things really well. Last year when we were talking about them and they almost missed the playoffs, but ended up getting the 2 seed, it was it was the 2 seed. It was a different conversation, but sure at some point, but
That point's not now.
I'm not. It's not of this season. That's for
Yeah, you
sure.
just mentioned those quarterbacks that they lost to as well. It's not like you're throwing a Pittsburgh Steeler Mason Rudolph led team in there, or insert another random wild card team that's made it throughout the last couple of years, or a Colts team, or even last year's Texans team, right, that had a rookie quarterback. So I mean, those are 3 really good quarterbacks that they've lost to, and 3 really good teams that they've lost to. So it's tough to play in the AFC. I don't envy all you people that have to root for AFC teams.
Okay, let's make our predictions. We'll go around the horn. Bobby, we'll start with you. Go to Penik, and then I'll finish up.
Ravens, they get over the hump.
I am rooting for Lamar Jackson, but I think the Bills are going to do it. I think the Bills are going to win. They're 8-0 at home.
They are 9-0 if you include last week's win.
Yeah.
The Ravens, however, played 10 games against playoff teams this year. They are 7-3, allowing a league low 18.5 points per game. Buffalo in 5 games against playoff teams this year, 2-3, and allowing a league worst 33 points per game. The Ravens will be moving on. We'll see in the AFC Championship game for the 2nd straight year. All right, more divisional round breakdowns coming your way, but a quick reminder that today's episode is sponsored by Captain Morgan, the official spiced rum of the NFL. The NFL season, that's where legends are born on and off the field. Some born out of last-second plays that turn the tide, change a team's destiny, while others are friends who follow the captain with them to make a regular get-together into the stuff of legends. So grab your crew, grab a captain and a cola, make it a story to remember, because legends start when you follow the captain. All you have to do, visit followthecaptain.com for more. Please drink responsibly. Captain Morgan, original spiced rum, 35% alcohol by volume. Captain Morgan Rum Company, New York, New York. All right, we continue on, and let's move backward on Sunday. The early game will be in the city of brotherly love as the LA Rams, the 4 seed, head out to take on the 2 seed, the Philadelphia Eagles. Philly comes in smoking hot. They have lost just 1 of their last 14 games. They are 6-0 all-time in divisional round play at home. That is the best mark in NFL history. However, the Rams, with an experienced quarterback, a couple of really good receivers, and a young up-and-coming defense, are now in the house. Justin Penik, do you think the Rams can ride that huge wave of momentum on a short week and dispose of the Eagles?
Some people are asking, do you think they could ride the young D all the way? Whoa, hey. Yeah, I even feel bad saying that. I'm wondering all week, because the Rams have beaten the Vikings twice this year, and they kicked ass against them last week, obviously, and it was with a pass rush that looked really, really good. Even the edge rushers were pushing back some really good tackles, and they were able to take advantage of running some stunts and stuff on the inside. And the Vikings don't have a good interior offensive line. I'm interested and even a little worried if I'm a Rams fan. I don't know if you're going to have that same success against the Eagles offensive line. Maybe you can attack the interior and Mekhi Becton and put pressure on them, but I don't think you're beating those those tackles 1v1. So that's the main thing for me. I would be blitzing though, Bobby, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this. Like, is that Rams defense? Do you think it's just a 1 week thing and a Vikings thing, or do you think they can actually do it? But if I'm the Rams, I'm continuing to bring pressure and simulate pressure. And they did a couple things last week where there was one sack that they had in Sam Darnold where they brought both corners, where we're dropping back linebackers and we're bringing corners. So it may not go down as an official blitz, but we're simulating pressure and we're bringing pressure from different spots. That's kind of how you wanted to beat the Eagles last year, and I still think that could be a weakness for them. So I want the Rams to continue to be aggressive, and you kind of got to go for the kill and go for that negative play.
The issue is the Eagles may just be able to hand the ball off over and over and over again to Saquon Barkley. Because I agree, that is the way for them to do it. But this Rams defense has not been great against the run this year. They've been bottom half of the NFL. And you've got a fucking group that is going to lean on you and a running back who's going to take advantage of that shit. That where I want to pick the Rams in this. I really do. I love this Rams team, but I just don't know if they've got enough to just to stop this run game, and then with Vic Fangio on the other side.
Well, back in Week 12, it was a Philly blowout win out on the West Coast, 37-20. Quick reminder, it was the game where Saquon Barkley did run all over him for 255.
That's when the MVP talk started.
Yeah, 255 on the ground, a couple of scores, more than 300 scrimmage yards. Now, here's the interesting thing. I know you guys like your facts and figures, so Barkley will be the 8th running back to have had a 200-plus rushing game against a team and then face off against them again in the playoffs. None of the previous 7 even topped 100. So maybe Chris Shula's working on some sort of scheme and say, listen, if they're going to beat us, I'm going to make Jalen Hurts throw the ball, or we'll live with him running the ball, which can be a problem, right? I mean, how many times this year? I think Jalen Hurts does it better than any quarterback in the NFC, where he sees the seas parting in the middle of the field, and he doesn't look that fast, but all of a sudden he's got a 30-yard gain, and the Eagles are inside the 10. Yeah. That could be a major, major problem for the LA Rams. So one other problem with the Rams in that Week 12 loss was they could not sustain drives. They went 0 for 8 on third down tries. Now you multiply the problem factor if you do that again on the road. You've got to sustain drives. You've got to keep that crazy link crowd out of it, right? And to me, that's a huge, huge issue. And where the hell has Cooper Kupp been? He's got 5 catches in the last 4 games. I mean, this is a guy that could get open by snapping his fingers. Bobby, Justin, can you figure out what's going on here with him?
No. I mean, they've been able to run the ball well. They've featured Puka Nacua quite a bit. But I do like Kupp in a matchup versus Fangio, because you got to be smart to beat them. The issue is Stafford has not been great against Fangio defenses in his career. He had a good box score stat game in that game, but he takes a lot of sacks. Took 5 sacks in that game, and then in his previous 6 games against Fangio, 3, 2, 2, 6, 3, 4 sacks, and then he threw 2 interceptions in 4 of those 6 games too. He's just not been great against those Fangio defenses. So I think Stafford in that offense will show up. I think they'll put up 20, 3, 24 type points, but I just think the Eagles are gonna be able to lean on them. And if like you said, if they go all out to stop the run, well, let's not forget that Jalen Hurts can still throw the damn ball to A.J. Brown pretty well, and Devontae Smith can get open and take over a game, and he's done it in playoff games before too. So I've tried to talk myself into the Rams, but I just can't.
Yeah, I mean, every game, Bobby hears me talk about this all the time on Giants, but every game does come down to winning on first and second down, then avoiding third down or avoiding third and long. But I would say out of every team and every matchup this weekend, the Rams and the Eagles, whoever wins first and second down and whoever can keep that average to go distance on third down, that I think is going to be the team that's going to come on top. Because even the Rams against the Vikings last week, for them offensively, they threw the ball a ton on first. They just threw the ball a ton in general until the second half, where the game was totally out of hand for the Vikings. So that's what they were relying on. Like, all right, this is clear. The game plan. We're going to drop back with Matthew Stafford, and we're going to kind of keep everything moving, keep everything short. And I love using the passing game kind of as an extension of the running game. And if Vic Fangio is going to be playing too high, maybe that opportunity is available over the middle of the field, utilizing Cooper Kupp more, Puka Nacua if he's getting Quinyon Mitchell treatment, maybe you want to look away from him. So I don't know, man. You got to win this game on first and second down, because if Stafford is going to take sacks on third down, Eagles have a decent enough pass rush. That front four can really get after it. And then also, if you're the Eagles offense, Jalen Hurts on third down, that's where Shula and that defense can have some fun, bring some looks and things like that.
So you've got the Eagles or the Rams?
I have the Rams reluctantly. I'm rooting for the Rams.
Okay. So Bobby's got the Eagles. You've got the Rams.
Eagles.
I went 0 for last week, by the way. So good for, that's good news for the Ravens
Wait
and
a
the
second.
Eagles.
You went 0 for 6?
I went 0 for 6 last weekend. I don't think I didn't get any game right. I chose the Chargers. I chose the Bucks. I should have chosen
the Steelers?
Oh no, I didn't pick the Steelers.
Come on. Penik. For goodness sakes.
Rich Blanc lied then. It's Rich Blanc's fault, our associate producer, his first mistake he made this year.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe he's made a lot more mistakes and we haven't even noticed.
Possible. I think I got 83% of the games right this year. Come on, Rich. What are you doing?
We love you, Rich.
This is a tough one for me because I watched the Rams play on Monday night against the Vikings. I'm like, this team can beat the Eagles, particularly the way the Eagles played last week. I just feel like they are susceptible to something, and Sean McVay can coach his ass off, and it feels like he can run circles around Sirianni. But I just think short week, going coast to coast, that's a big ask. That's a big ask for a young defense, and Philadelphia's defense has been the best in the NFL since they came back from the bye week. And you could make an argument they've been the best in the NFL just all season long. If you include points per game in the playoffs, they're number one in total yards, number one in points per game allowed. I just like them a little bit too much here. And as long as they stick with Saquon here and don't get too nuts, I think that Philadelphia is going to move it to the NFC Championship game. So there you go. Let's continue to work backward. The nightcap on Saturday night, the Lions coming off of the bye week will play host to the upstart and plucky Washington Commanders. So here's the deal, guys. The Lions, they went 32 years between NFC title game appearances. Now they're trying to play in it for the second straight year and host it for the first time ever. Bobby, in your opinion, is this defense, even though it is not healthy, good enough to slow down Jaden Daniels in prime time?
May not need to, because I want to read you the points the Lions have scored going from most recent to the beginning of the season. 31, 40, 34, 42, 34, 23, 24, 52, 26, 24, 52, 31, 47, 42, 20, 20, 26. Wow, they started the season off slow with 22 points per game. Jaden Daniel needs to score 40 or 38 or something, which he has done this year. Beat the Bengals 38-33. Beat the Eagles 36-33. They've scored 43 different times, but that's the type of performance they need, and I just don't think it's happening against this Lions defense. And I think this Lions offense is going to score at will against the Commanders. I wouldn't be surprised if we look back at this game and the Lions don't punt. I'm so confident in the Lions in this matchup.
Well, but here's the thing. 3 times this year, I believe the Washington Commanders did not punt in a game. And it wasn't like they were turning it over 5 or 6 times. They can sustain drives. They run the football effectively. Don't you think that's what they're going to try and do against the Lions, is take the air out of it a little bit?
But I feel like that's the worst thing to do against the Lions, because they stop the run so well, and they're vulnerable against the pass, even though they make a ton of plays and they create turnovers and stuff. So, yeah, I do agree. If the Commanders can try and get a run game going, sick, awesome. But I just don't know if that's going to be what I don't know if that's going to work against this team when you got to put up points after points. Maybe that's the way you slow the game down, but I don't know if they're going to find consistent success to win a game 38-33 like that against the Lions.
Yeah, I'm hoping for an explosive play fest from both of these teams because that would be a ton of fun. 20-yard play, 30-yard play, 40-yard play, one after another. Terry McLaurin cooking some guys in the secondary, getting Austin Eckler involved in like the screen game and stuff like that. Um, Both of these teams are the only two teams in the NFL. I think I've said this stat before. Both of these teams are the only two teams in the NFL that have scored on over 50% of their drives. But fellas, this is one of those games in the postseason where I think it comes down to Jimmy's and Joe's, where the Commanders are kind of like in this retooling year, and the Lions are in this. We are looking to win the Super Bowl right now, and they have years of good drafting. They have years of roster construction versus the Commanders. This is their first year of it, and I think that's what this game is going to come down to.
So, first of all, the punters might not even need to show up.
Because everybody goes for it.
Yeah, with the propensity of these two teams to go for it on fourth down and also convert at a very high rate. Washington's converting at almost 90% this season, if you include what they did last week in Tampa. So that'll be very interesting. We'll have plenty to second guess the coaches on if it's a big missed fourth down opportunity and a little bit of a head scratcher. I think Dan Campbell is ready to take these guys behind the woodshed. And what I mean by that is use that awesome offensive line. David Montgomery's returning this weekend. Jahmyr Gibbs has been insane ever since Montgomery went on the shelf. And, we look at the Lions, we're like, man, they score so many points. They must be just slinging the ball all over the field. We've seen Jared Goff have to throw for less than 150 yards a bunch of times this year, and they're still putting up over 40. I think they are going to try and ram it down Washington's throat. Washington does not do a good job stopping the run. I think if they have a 10-play drive, first time out of the gate, it wouldn't shock me if they run it 8 or 9 times in the opening drive just to set a tone, just to get those frantic fans involved in the game and say, we are dominant. We are physically going to whoop your ass, and we'll see whomever we see next week in Motown for the first time ever when we host an NFC Championship game.
Dan Campbell's also had 2 weeks for this. Detroit, I think it may be the best home field advantage in the NFL. We saw how insane they were last year, and they are hungrier than ever. They are hungrier than ever, and they're going to be ruthless, and they should be. Kind of hoping for another Stafford goes back to Detroit in the NFC Championship. That'd be fun. But I agree. I think that place is going to be bumping because they're going to go on that first drive. Like you said, they may run the ball every single play and score a touchdown. I don't think this Lions offense is going to be stopped at all by this Commanders defense. You give me the Eagles or something, it might be a little tougher matchup. Even the Rams. I don't think this Commanders defense has what it takes to hang with them.
Jimmy's and Joe's, and I think that's what it comes down to. The Lions are just better and more talented.
The only thing I am looking forward to is that Jaden Daniels, not once this year has he seemed flustered. He just had, even last week when he had a game-winning drive where they took care of the last 4 minutes and 41 seconds on the clock and kicked a game-winning field goal as time expired. He rides. There's no emotional wave with him. It's like calm waters all the way through, and I think that's so damn impressive for a kid who's played less than a full season. Well, he's played a full season now.
I agree. Any other team we have the Commanders against all in the playoffs, we'd be talking about even the hey, what can they do if they get a couple stops? I think on the opposite side, that Lions offense is unstoppable. Yeah. Where Jaden Daniels may have a great game, and we're still talking about them losing by 7.
So do we all have the all in favor of the Lions? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh.
Okay. One more game to go. We'll get to that momentarily. But first, Justin Penik with this word.
All right, football fans, it's playoff time. We've got some exciting games to look forward to, and you can get in on all the playoff action right now with our partners at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, DraftKings is offering all new customers $200 in bonus bets instantly after betting just $5 when you use our code football today. Stay in on the action. Use your $200 in bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays. First shot at an even bigger payout. And do you love the thrill of live betting? I certainly do. DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on in-progress games as they happen, making watching the game that much more exciting. And if sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry, you can still join in all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have a shot to win cash prizes. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use our code football today, all one word. Bet $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's code football today only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours, and you will be glad you did.
All right, the first game of divisional weekend. It is the two-time defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, well rested off a bye, playing host to the Houston Texans. And gentlemen, I'll start off with a little trivia question first for you because I know you like this. And so, Penik, you can get first crack at it. The Chiefs are trying to become the first ever back-to-back-to-back Super Bowl winners. How many of the previous 8 that won consecutive Super Bowls even made the Super Bowl a third straight year?
How many? I know the Dolphins made it 3 straight years. Is that part of this question?
So they had to have won in consecutive years, and then the third year at least make and then lose the Super Bowl, because we've never had a team that's won 3 straight Super Bowls.
So is that the Dolphins that did it?
So you're saying one team did it?
No, you think the Dolphins won back-to-back Super Bowls?
No, actually, no, they did in the 70s, right?
Mm-hmm. They did.
All right, so I'm saying I'm locking in the Dolphins as an answer.
Bobby, do you have a guess?
I'll say 2.
The answer is 0.
Oh,
now I don't want people putting in the comments, well, wait, this team made it 3 straight years. Yes, I'm talking about going win, and then lose the Super Bowl. We've never had that before. So they haven't even made the Super Bowl. So if you just look at the history of the sport, Kansas City Chiefs are just trying to get to the Super Bowl, which is something the team has never done after winning consecutive Super Bowls. It's not the greatest Chiefs team we've seen during this run. Maybe defensively it is, but certainly offensively it's not. It is a team that didn't even score 30 points in a single game this year. But let's just focus on this weekend. Penik, is there any sort of formula where the Houston Texans go in to Kansas City and upset the Chiefs?
Watch the Bills film and keep Patrick Mahomes in the pocket and shrink the pocket. That's what the Bills did. The Bills did a very, very good job of not over-penetrating. The pass rush, I can't even remember fully, but it got home enough. I think these edge rushers, hey, they may get like salivating, like, oh man, we kicked ass last week against some pretty good tackles. And the Chiefs, if there's one issue that they maybe have, it is their tackles, but you have Patrick Mahomes that could just improvise and do whatever he wants. So that Texans pass rush is probably feeling itself right now. That is the path to if they are going to have a shot in this game, that is their path, but they cannot over pursue. They need to stay in their lanes. And if you can somehow keep Patrick Mahomes in the pocket, maybe he can make a mistake. Maybe he could throw some interceptions. You feel like everything's going to shrink and the pressure is going to get to you. That's their path to success.
Yeah, I mean, like Justin said, it's that pass rush of Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, and hoping Stingley comes away with a turnover, or something. The issue is I just have no faith in the Texans' offense. To even if the Chiefs play bad offensively, I don't think they'll play as bad as the Tech. Like in this game that they lost, a month ago or whatever it was. I mean, who was the best Texans player in offense? Tank Dell. Gone. I think Spags is going to hold this Texans offense to 10 points or less.
Yeah, put a lot of pressure on that Texans offensive line. That Texans offense, Texans front office was probably looking at themselves being like, yeah, we did a good job this past offseason of getting good names on this team, but we got to protect Stroud because the Houston third and long Texans, I think that's a lot of that is driven through the offensive line.
Well, it felt like last week's 20-point win over the Chargers was the best game that the Texans played in months. And I don't think they can string 2 together, certainly against this sort of competition. Patrick Mahomes has never lost in the divisional round. He's 6-0. But here's the amazing thing. He hasn't turned the ball over. He's got 13 touchdown passes. He's got 16 total TDs when you factor in the run game as well. He has not turned it over. Not one tipped pass that ended up in somebody's arms. One missed throw where he overshoots a receiver. One bad read where the other team hangs onto the football. He just doesn't make the mistakes. He will get you. And by the way, it's always this time of year where he comes up with some sort of huge, huge run. Just something. You think you got something covered. We got everybody. And then Patrick Mahomes, who looks like the slowest quarterback out there when he's running, but he's always faster than everybody else.
He runs like he runs and walks like he's got a crap in his pants, Rose. That's what I've always said.
That's a rough visual for me, Penik, but I understand. I understand kind of what you're saying here. Who knows? Maybe he'll end up doing a commercial for some sort of, multi MVP, multi Super Bowl champion. Depends for some young guy out there who needs it. When you're being rushed and you got to go and get going at the same time.
We're writing it up. The marketing department has to hire us.
You're welcome, everybody. I just don't see them. Even if they keep it close, he's going to do something special where we're going to talk about it on Monday's show and say, that's just Mahomes doing Mahomes-ish things. What's the excitement scale? 1 to 10. Doesn't divisional weekend really get started at 8 o'clock Eastern with the night game on Saturday? Isn't that the way it feels?
Absolutely, yes. And I'm glad the way they did this schedule because this is the game I kind of have the least interest in. And then the Lions, hey, at least that game there's going to be a lot of points, and then Sunday's game should be some great matchups. So I'm excited for it, my friends.
My only thing is that you may look in the third quarter and the Chiefs are controlling the game, but they're up by only like 10. And it's like, oh, well, if the Texans could put together a drive or because the Chiefs don't really kick ass like that. The Chiefs play all these one-score games and they win them. And you watch it, it's like, well, the Chiefs controlled the game, but they only win by 6 or 3 or whatever, 4. We'll see.
Well, if the Chiefs win, it means they make it to a 7th straight AFC championship game, and only New England would have had a longer stretch where they did it 8 in a row from 2011 through the 2018 season. So, it's just we expect Kansas City to win, whether it's by 7, 10, 13 points, whatever. Does Houston lead it all in the second half, Bobby?
No.
Does Houston lead it? No. God,
I'd like to see it, just for interest's sake.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'm going to say the Texans lead. I'm just going to throw it out there.
But we all have the Chiefs winning.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, because the Chiefs, that's what they do. Yeah. They win one-score games and they come from behind. And I think it'll happen again this week.
Yep.
They haven't played. They will not have played in 24 days. You think that has anything to do with this game, Bobby?
Yeah, Chiefs are rested. Helps them out even more.
Penik?
Well, if they don't look that good, then that's going to be one of the things that we're going to say. So I don't think so. I don't think so. You have a team of veterans that have been there, done that, and they're going to go after it.
So when we resume discussions on Monday, we will have championship games in Kansas City and Detroit, is what we all believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. It'll be another fun as we get ready for Bobby's favorite week of the NFL season, Conference Championship Sunday. But first, let's get through Divisional Round weekend, which was my father's favorite weekend. And so it will be my favorite as well. All right, boys, this was a fun discussion. Enjoy all 4 games. Yes, including even the Houston Texans game, which gets us jump-started Saturday afternoon in Kansas City. For Bobby Skinner, for Justin Penik, for producer Connor, I am Chris Rose. We will see you Monday here on Football Today, presented to you by Captain Morgan, the official spiced rum of the NFL.